Welcome to The Pestle, reviewing and breaking down movies to look for insights into the movie-making process. Hosted by Family Photographs, establishing parental dominance since 1841. Now, let's dim the lights and say cheese.
Welcome everyone to The Pestle. Today's show is brought to you by The Final Frontier. Go boldly where no one has gone that many times before on TK Bellows' The Final Frontier. Welcome everyone to The Pestle. I am Wes.
And I am Todd.
And we make things and then we watch movies and talk about how maybe they made things or how we interpreted how they made a thing. And then we try to learn. For me, this is always just a fun study session in terms of the writing. I'm always trying to steal ideas of other people's ideas, just to layer in way deeper into my brain, like mechanics and methods of storytelling, because there's a lot going on in every story, ideally. And even I think the failed stories have a lot going on. And I say failed in terms of my personal enjoyment of them, not necessarily in the director's intentions, because maybe I like a movie or I don't like a movie that everyone else likes, or that the director is like, you know what? I set out to make what I wanted to make, and I'm happy with that if no one else is, which is awesome. I think that's the way it should be. If no one else is happy and you made a thing that you're proud of, you freaking succeeded. And I've certainly done that before, where I'm like, you know what? I can already tell no one's going to like this thing. I'm fine with that because I love it. I love what I made. This is exactly what I was hoping to make. And so watching films is a really fascinating insight into how other people see the world. In the best case scenario, in the worst case scenario, someone made something they didn't like because they tried to make something that someone else would like. And that's, to me, the death of art. That's not what you want. I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling, I guess, but that's the intention of what we're doing here, or at least my intention. It's like, I'm here to learn. I really want to see what I see and communicate that to you, Todd. But usually, I would say 90% of the time when I'm talking, I'm really talking to the audience. And I hope it doesn't ever feel like I'm talking down to you, Todd, because I'm really just like, this is what I learned. And isn't it interesting or not? I don't know.
No, I think that's important, not just for me to hear what you think and you to hear what I think, but the best films are the ones that, I mean, look, we don't usually pick movies that we think suck to review, because I don't want to sit through 2 hours of garbage that I know I'm going to hate anyway, and then just talk smack. So the films that we do cover, I think, are usually ones where you can tell that either the filmmaker or an actor or the writer or even the cinematographer had a statement to make. And, whether or not they were making it and somebody else was saying, no, don't do that, do something else, doesn't matter. They had a statement to make and they made it. And then part of the fun is seeing, did that translate to how we view it? And I think this is what you're talking about is really timely, because there's so much AI going on right now in filmmaking in general. And while I personally think that AI is amazing and helps with a lot of like small things that don't need to take 8 hours to do, they can take 8 minutes. Fantastic. That's great. But sometimes something needs to take 8 hours, and you can tell when some human person spent 8 hours doing it, as opposed to, and even if you can't tell, it doesn't matter, because it's not about the final product. It's about the making of the product. Like, that's the thing that filmmakers, you as a filmmaker, yes, having a final film is wonderful, is beautiful. Me as a musician, having a final record is like wonderful and beautiful, but it's the process of making it that we're in search for. That's what we're in search of. And so if you take that away from the creative person, then they're not making a statement. It's not the difference between you making a film and AI making a film is AI, you have a perspective, and AI just has your perspective that it's failing at 99% of the time. So I love that you're saying all this, because it's just super important for a human being to say, I have this thing in my head and I want to, it's an idea and I want to convey that idea visually in a way that I see it in my head. Not that a computer sees it in its head, or not that any executive sees it in their head. This is mine. I think this film we're about to talk about is a perfect example of that. So it's a good segue. You're talking about this is a good segue into it. It's art, and art, it comes from some place that we cannot digitize. It comes from a place of sitting down when you have nothing to say, and something comes out that you don't expect and you have no idea where it came from. I mean, you were talking about it before we started the podcast of you writing. You're like, I have an idea of where this is going to go, and here we go. And now you come out of it, you're like, oh my gosh, I've written myself in a corner because now I don't know where that came from. This new section of my script, I don't know where it came from. That's the point. That is the point. And you can't prompt your way to that, right? You have to sit down and you have to like just fail and fail and fail until you see some gold in something. You're like, oh, I'm going to mine that, right? You can't, AI is not going to do that. It's just another tool, right? To try to like convey information to someone else to then make a thing, right? So I love the idea of AI for storyboarding and things like that, things that are not part of the final product, but like lead to the final product. That's fantastic. But the idea, man, that's the gold. You know what I mean?
Dude, yeah, that's so good. I think AI, for me, the thing that I get excited about with AI is science and research and the pattern matching capabilities and the ability to extrapolate, and you feed it a bunch of information about our genetic code, and now it can start to see like, oh, here's why whatever we age, and here's how to prevent a disease, and using it in these big ways that, I mean, there's a quote in this film that we're covering, spoiler, I guess, that there's more connections in our brain, neuronal connections, than there are atoms in the universe. Like, that's bonkers, right? And we can't process that on an individual level. Like, you need computers, you need something to help you sift through all that. And that's a great function of AI. But in art, and this is my deep conviction that I've had for a very long time, the purpose of art is connection. That's really what art is. And I wrote a script earlier this year that is laying that out in a lot of symbolism and metaphor. And I really believe the point of art is connection. That's what we're doing. Even if you're just connecting with yourself and helping to understand yourself. Like, there's so many times when I write a poem or, a story where I'm writing it because I feel a certain way. I feel deeply in that moment, and I don't know how to say it, or I don't even know how to put a finger on exactly what I'm feeling. And by the time I finish writing this poem, suddenly I understand it, and suddenly I understand a little bit more about myself. Even if no one else reads it or sees it, I was able to connect on a, better level with my own thoughts and feelings. And I think that's the purpose of art. It's why it exists. We're creating things to connect with other people, and that's just fundamentally something that a computer could never do. Like, it's the difference of someone knowing that it's the stove is 500 degrees and touching it. Like, computers fundamentally can never understand that difference. It can tell you, the problem with Mary is you can know everything there is to know about the color red, but you can never know what it feels like to see red for the first time. And so I completely believe, like, it's perspective, and there's nothing that AI can ever understand about the human perspective at this point. We need a whole new different model before it can start to do that. I don't know if that model's possible. I suspect that it isn't, but who knows? In the long run, anything is possible, I guess. But certainly with the LLM approach, it's not possible. It's just, memorizing and sorting and predicting. It becomes a really good predictive engine.
And okay, I also think, and then we'll get off the soapbox and we'll start on the film, but Man, I love what you say, especially about the color red. Like that's the perfect way to say it. Like, but imagine, okay, Shakespeare, who by the way is not overrated, like is timeless forever. By the way, a human being wrote all of that, and it's so beautiful and it's incredible. But he was fallible, right? He was not perfect, but he wrote timeless, incredible stuff. Now imagine a computer writing all of that, and you knew it was a computer. Now the difference is like maybe somebody says, "Oh no, a human being wrote all this," and so you think a human being wrote it, but it really was a computer. But imagine if you knew a computer wrote all of that. It does not, to your point, connect with you. This is like an encyclopedia writing like words that are jumbled together to quote unquote mean something. It means so much more to know that another human being felt this way and put that onto a piece of paper or typed it up or something. It's the difference between a computer and a human being. You're right. Yeah. It's the connection. And I used to be kind of worried about art and worried about filmmaking and music making and stuff. And now I'm not worried at all. Like there is no, even if AI, becomes, like the new human being version of human beings, I don't give a shit. I don't care. Like I don't want to see movies that are made by AI. I don't want to listen to music that's made by AI. I have no desire. So instead, I'm just going to start making that shit for myself. If nobody's going to make it anymore, nobody's going to make music and movies anymore on their own, me and you, we're just going to make this stuff ourselves because I don't have any desire. And I know that there are thousands, millions of other people that also are the same way, that are artistic and they want to make the paintings. They want to take the photography, the pictures. They want to, make the films and stuff. And so we're going to be that group. We're going to be that group that won't let analog die. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I'm not worried at all.
Oh, speaking of analog, what are we covering today, man?
Today we are covering Amélie. So if you haven't seen this film, please pause the episode and go watch it because we're going to spoil all the stuff and things.
Yeah, we'll dive in a little bit. I don't have great notes. I feel like I've let Izzy down twice now because we did a very long engagement and I was like, I think that might be my worst episode ever. Maybe this is just the effect Jeunet has on me because I'm just...
Yeah, maybe.
I'm confounded every time I watch his films. But I will attempt to touch on my side anyway, some of the cinematography, dramatic camera work, and touch on a little bit of the story and writing, voiceover, themes, and other such stuff and things and stuff.
Okay. I'm going to ruin all of these names, but here we go. Synopsis of the film. At a tiny Parisian café, the adorable yet painfully shy Amélie discovers a gift for helping others. Soon, Amélie is spending her days as a matchmaker, guardian angel, and all-around do-gooder. But when she bumps into a handsome stranger, will she find the courage to become the star of her very own love story? There we go. It's directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet, written by Guillaume, Laurant, and Jean-Pierre Jeunet. Cinematography by Bruno Delbonnel. It's featuring Audrey Tautou as Amélie, Mathieu Kassovitz as Nino Quincampoix, Isabelle Nanty as Georgette, Dominique Pinon as Joseph, Jamel Debbouze as Lucien, Serge Merlin as Dufayel, the glass man.
Well done. Perfect.
God, that was brutal.
I thought you were French for a moment.
I am French. I'm a lot French. You see my nose?
Oh, so this was your first time diving into Amélie. Now, I'm sure you're aware the entire world is in love with this movie. And I've never heard a bad word about this movie. And so I'm curious if you will be the first, which is fine. Everyone has their thing, And so did you get the charm, or was this like a a slog. I feel like it's got to be one or the other. It's either really hard to get through or you're just enchanted.
No, I mean, you have to be ready for subtitle film, as someone who doesn't understand French. I wish I understood French. I feel like if I understood French, this movie would be even on another level.
Agreed.
But no, to me, it's an artistic masterpiece. I think it's fantastic in all the ways. It's like Wes Anderson if he was French.
Yeah.
Maybe he is French. I don't know. But it's very Wes Anderson. But in its own way, Wes Anderson is so rigid in all of his shots are a specific way. And this is not like that. I mean, we have Dutch angles, we have the color is like very yellow, in a lot of places, but then in other places it's not yellow at all. And it's like very, saturated. I think that, Audrey Tautou is freaking the most adorable creature I've ever seen on screen. And I've seen some adorable creatures, but she's just perfect. She's fantastic. And it's also reminds me kind of like in a better way of Crash, how like all of these stories kind of like come together. And then there's one central like entity that's like touching all of these things. And I love that she kind of like discovers herself throughout the film, and then that self discovers a deeper self, which is, like in the description, like part of her own love story, but she's very scared because she's shy. But her way of not being shy is helping all of these people secretly, even if that means sabotaging the mean guy at the counter who like talks down to I don't know, is that just his assistant or something?
Yeah, it seems like I don't think they're related, right?
Like,
it's just a
like
hired
coworker,
hand.
I don't know, whatever. His worker talks down to him, and so she like starts sabotaging him. But anyway, I think that it's also brilliant in the editing. I think it's fantastic. Like the first time she helps somebody, I think, is when she helps that old guy across the street. But she doesn't just help him across the street. He's blind, so she just describes the world to him. So she gives him more than just, coins in his. I think the first time we see him is he's in the subway, right? And she gives him coins. She gives him more than coins, and more than helping him across the street. She gives him the world, and then leaves him, and that's it. Tells him where he is, and then she just leaves him. And I think that that's so beautiful. And it's just a great start, right? But that editing sequence is fantastic. You're just, it's kind of like you're seeing the world for the first time, like this blind guy is. It's imagine closing your eyes and she's describing the world to you, and you're seeing this baby in the carriage. You're seeing a dog. You're smelling the fruit that you're walking past. You know how much it costs all of a sudden, and then that shot down on him where like the world just opens up and he looks like, I don't know, he like glows. It's interesting because I think in a normal movie that sort of stuff might not work, but in the world that we're put in this film, it's totally expected. You have all of these super close up wide angle shots of like of faces, and and she'll like break the fourth wall several times, which I just love. I don't know.
She
I kind of
secretly looks to us and whispers, 15.
Yes. Or like when she's in the movie theater and she looks up directly at you and her eyes are just like, doe eyes, just giant. And then she says that she likes seeing people in the dark, or like people's faces in the dark. And then we pan over and it shows all of the people looking up at movies. And I'm thinking, yes, I love that too. Or like, putting her hand in grain. I love that too. Anyway, all of these things are just so really cool. And it's set in the 80s, right? Isn't
97.
It's 70s? I know. Oh, it's set in 97?
Because that's it's right after the big trigger at the beginning of the film is Lady
Diana.
Di. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, cool. Yeah, anyway, I feel really placed in that that time, whatever time it is. I feel really placed in it. You know, the CRT TVs and the camcorder, the guy, like the glass man, like with aiming the camcorder at the clocks because he doesn't want to wind his clock, so he just like keeps it on his TV. Awesome. That's actually smart, you know? There's so many like little things about this film that are just like so beautiful. You know, she's watching TV. I have it on right here. She's watching TV and she sees herself in the shows. She sees herself as Mother Mary, or not Mother Mary, as
Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa, thank you, washing feet. And she like and she's crying and she starts helping people. And I think that that's beautiful. It's an interesting story that could be boring. And yet it's not. And I think one of the reasons it's not is because how it doesn't take itself so seriously for the most part, but then there are serious moments, and the serious moments are lit perfectly. Like when she has realizations and stuff, like maybe she has hard lighting on one side of her face and like the other side is like completely black, or she's on a bus or something like that. And it's just lit dramatically with like an upward angle. Like the cinematography is absolutely flawless and it's so inspired. It really is. There's no throwaway. So to me, I think the genius of this film is the cinematography. I mean, the writing is obviously really great. You know, I'm not going to take anything away from that, but the cinematography, the editing, and the acting are perfect because it's also really, really easy for the acting to feel like a little throwaway, for lack of a better term, because it's a light movie or because it's kind of like a Wes Anderson-y movie. Those movies are not known for their acting. Right. Let's be honest. They're known for their cinematography, for the writing, for the editing, but they're not necessarily known for the acting. And I think this movie is different in a way, mostly because of her. She's perfect. But I think everybody like lives in that world, and it's heavy at the same time as being light. And I don't know how you do that, but like everybody feels the weight of the world. Like her landlord, you know, she's so sad because her husband left her and stuff. And that's heavy, man. That's super heavy. The guy who's in love with the woman behind the counter, but he, you know, I don't know if she like rejected him or if he just doesn't have the guts to talk to her. I can't remember.
She broke up with him and he's been jilted.
Broke up with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's heavy, man. That like it really is. But then there's so much lightness around all of it too. So anyway, yeah, I could keep going, but it's absolutely fantastic. And honestly, I don't want to say flawless, but like it's just really, really beautiful. I mean, maybe it might be a little long. I mean, 2 hours is hard. It's hard for me to sit in a subtitle film for 2 hours, but I did it and it's okay. It's fine. Not really sure what you'd cut because I think all the shots are beautiful. But that's probably the only thing I could really see, you know, maybe changing. So.
Yeah. I think the reason it feels long isn't even because of the runtime. It's because of how much is happening. You're having to keep track of a lot. I mean, the first, 5 minutes, you're getting background information. You're hearing about, that first shot is hilarious and heartbreaking, which is what this movie is. It's both hilarious and heartbreaking. It's September 23rd, 1973, 6:32 p.m. A blue fly lands on, Rue Street in Montmartre. And then you see a car just smash it. And it's like, oh crap. Okay. That's what we're in for. 2 wine glasses danced in the wind and nobody saw it. After a funeral, a man erases his friend from his book. And it's just like all these really heartbreaking things. And then this is the world Amelie is, conceived in, and that's the day of her conception, the moment of her conception, which is a really fun way. It's not when she was born, it's when her parents got together. And that's just and it's giving you this world of whimsy, and allowing for all these heavy things that you're talking about to exist. And I think that's the thing that I've been trying to, wrestle with is what this movie is really talking about. And I think that's that's probably a good chunk of it. At the heart of it, it's finding a way to coexist with so many dark things in the world, and it's finding the not the silver lining, but just the way to process it in a way that still looks for joy. You can find it if you want to find it, but just as much you can be Joseph and find the vile things sometimes where they're not even there, right? And that's one of those little interesting moments of what people don't like versus what they do like. And we're introduced to her dad, who doesn't like peeing next to another guy in the stalls, which is universal, my friend.
Yes,
no one likes that. But the things that he does like, whatever, long strips of wallpaper, that's kind of interesting. If you factor in that it's being replaced, like the wallpaper is coming down, the thing that you're not seeing is that new wallpaper is going up. And then you also see in the cafe, I love that it's the two windmills, which I knew, and it's funny, I haven't watched this in like probably 20 years. And I've loved it, but it's the same feeling of, I don't know if I can sit down and make myself watch that again. And I'm so glad we're covering it because it just reminded me how just phenomenal this movie is. But one of the waitresses, she likes cracking bones, right? And that's an interesting one whenever you think about, that brings a sense of relief whenever you crack your knuckles or whatever. Like there's we all kind of get a joy out of doing that. And then the Joseph, Dominique Pinon, is underneath the table. He likes popping those bubbles. And that's a really fascinating look into his psyche, because I think we all enjoy popping those bubbles. But there's something interesting about him doing it because he seems to like destroying things. He has this self-destructive personality because he's introduced to love. Like Amelie finds a way to get him back in love, and he just can't help himself. He still finds a way to ruin that. And this movie is full of those. Like she can show him the way to love, but ultimately what's in him is what's going to take over. That's the end of the road. And so good or bad, he can choose to create that reality. And I think we'll certainly be coming back to that. But yeah, I think watching this movie, it's hard to focus and understand what the movie's about because of how much whiplash is going on. Like you're just constantly being introduced to new ideas, new people, new plot lines and subplots and subplots, and it just never ends. And going there with Amelie, because she is unbelievably adorable in this role, and it's built that way, obviously. And Audrey Tautou is just unequivocal in her ability to embody that, and her little mischievous, looks and furtive glances here and there, and it's just masterful. And it comes down to it's the sum of parts being more than the sum, right? Like it's all, the writing is crazy to me. As a writer, I'm looking at this and I'm like, how did you do this? How did you come up with the million little, quirky insights that everyone tries to do? Like Wes Anderson tries to do this, and he does, different films, different levels of success for sure. And it's his own voice. I'm not trying to say that he's copying. He's doing it in his own way, but it's not this. For me, it's not this, where I see a lot of writers trying to be quirky. He does it, like I think of that sequence when she's waiting on Nino to arrive and he's late. And she starts imagining why he's late. And it starts, oh, I get it. That's funny. And then he keeps going. And then you're like, oh, okay, that was good. and then it keeps going. You're just like, wait, where are we going? Because it ends with like, she couldn't possibly, be in love with a man or whatever, like who would prefer to eat borscht in the mountains, with a teapot hat or whatever it is. And it's just like, that's where we landed. Like, she's mad at him because he's eating borscht in the mountains.
Well, the cool thing is like, that's such a great description of the human mind.
Yeah.
Right. It's unexplainable. It's kind of like one of the things we were talking about at the beginning of this podcast is like there is no way to know where your mind is going to go. It just does. And so, of course, like, why not take that to the nth degree? This is that kind of movie too. So,
in talking about what we were discussing earlier, connection, like, I connect so deeply with Amelie because those are the ways that my brain works. Like, I go into these wild rabbit holes that don't stop at the obvious ending, that just keeps going, and then I make it worse, and then I make it worse and it's because I am an introvert, and I live so deeply inside my own brain, and I create fights and like stories that I forget by the next day, and I'm like, why was I so upset yesterday over this person I walked by, who were judging me for how close I walked by them. Like, I have all these crazy things that I go through in my day-to-day life, and I'm watching her and I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like, I'm with you. And it's just so cool that he found a way to not just exercise all those thoughts, but then to do it in a way that's beautiful and accessible and makes us all laugh and makes everyone who's watching this feel like, I get it. Everyone is having their own version of these thoughts and ideas, and he's doing it in a way that, like, oh, that's like, there's some of these thoughts that I never would have had, and some of them that I've had that no one else would have had. And it's like the cat, like, there's no reason we should have known what the cat likes, but the cat likes listening to children's stories. Like, that's such a funny, like, what? Okay, yeah, I get it. And I'm sure everyone who owns a cat is thinking about what their cat actually likes, and they've built out this whole crazy story of, and they've, humanized their animals, and they've humanized their goldfish. And now I love that we never see the goldfish again. Like, why would we? And I keep waiting, and it's been 20 years, so I forget, but I kept waiting, like, are we going to see the goldfish again? No, he's gone. He's got his freedom, and he's going on to live his life. He's living his best life. And she's okay with that. And she doesn't feel a need to go back and find him or to think about him, but maybe that's what she's doing when she's skipping stones. She's still thinking about and giving him, like, new things. And I love that throughout the movie, we're watching her collect the perfect skipping stone, and they don't call it out. It's there. They're pointing it out, but they don't call it out. She doesn't really say, oh, this is a really good skipping stone, or someone doesn't look at her and say, oh, what are you collecting those stones for? Like, she's just doing it. And this movie is full of these little touches that if you understand her inner life, then you're in there with her. But if not, those moments can wash over you, and that's fine too. And that's, I think, part of the beauty of the voiceover, because on the one hand, the narration orients us in this quirky, whimsical universe, and it's also an insight, because after a certain point, we kind of don't hear from the narrator anymore. He kind of just goes away, and now we're just left with Amelie, which is amazing because it's also an insight into her introverted inner life. And so, because she doesn't speak hardly at all, and the fact that we have a narrator, we do understand so much about her struggles, her desires, why she interacts with the world, how she does. And that's such a good use of narration because it doesn't wear out its welcome. If we went the whole 2 hours like that, we would be way more exhausted than we are. But the fact that it, like, gives us a good push into the story, like, we got momentum now, and we understand how she's moving through the world and why. And so by the time you get to the blind man and that, walk through the street and her introducing him, like you said it so perfectly. And we have that top-down shot, and he's just rapturous, right? He's touched by God or touched by an angel, and the world is opening up to him. That's so like perfect. And so we both understand how she gets to do the other things that she's doing, and you feel moved, and you also feel that story is closed up. Like, we don't need to go back to him anymore. There's more stories to be told. There's more things to see and to experience, and other people to open the world up to. And we see her give those efforts, and to me that gets into her, I don't know. So I guess, what would you say as you're watching this or thinking about it, probably more accurately, what would you say like this movie is saying about life? Like, what did you have any interpretation, or can you suss one out in conversation? Like, what do you think this movie is trying to communicate to us about living our life?
Good question. I might have to suss it out. I think maybe just on its face, we all have our lives that we go through, our things that we deal with, all of us. So you're walking down the street and somebody bumps into you and they're like, "Hey dude, watch it." That person also is just trying to get through, and has things, maybe, and you can't assume to know what that is, or that they even have something that warrants, it being okay that they're a jerk to you. Like, that's not what I mean. I just mean, like, we all have our things that we're going through, and it's really hard to know. And then it's also hard to get ourselves out of those things. And so Amelie is just like maybe just like the catalyst to help us get out of our own way. Right. So, for the woman whose husband left her, she couldn't get over him. Like she can make the decision to, but she couldn't get over her husband. So she was just miserable. So Amelie gives her what she quote unquote needs, which is to find this letter that had been lost of he actually loved her and he just couldn't get back to her. And so she's the catalyst to give her what she needs to get through. Like, she still doesn't have her husband, but like, she has what she quote unquote needed. And then, the kid that is, his boss is being mean to him, I don't know. I think that maybe we all just have our own things and we can't get out of our own way. And so maybe she's a metaphorical, like helper of that. But also her as a character herself, she's just also trying to find her own way through, and she doesn't really like have a purpose yet. And she gets joy from helping other people. And so she's like, okay, I'm going to go down that avenue of just continuing to help people where I think that I can. In secret though, because I'm too shy. I don't really know. I'm not totally sure other than that. Like, what did you think? Does that align with what you think at all? Or?
I think, yeah, it's in harmony for sure. I think as I was pondering this morning, like after another watch, and I was, making my coffee, I started just pondering about her approach to the world. She seemed incapable of going after the thing that she wanted. She wanted to interact with the world, and she chose to do it in this way because it was the safest way to do it. And maybe there's no safe way to interact with the world, because you risk. An interaction is a risk. And I don't know how much this ties in with Lady Di, and how she was this kind of example. I don't really know anything about Princess Diana. And so everything that I kind of know is mostly from stuff like this and a documentary here and there. And I understand that, she seemed to be a really amazing person. Every time I see her name come up, I've only ever seen incredible things about her helping people and going to orphanages and, trying to make a difference. And so I think there's some inspiration behind that. about going and interacting with the world in a way that certainly makes it a better place. But I see this in her, Amélie. The thing that I think I really walked away with was she was trying, and this might be me and my own approach to life, really more than anything, but trying to create the world that she lived in. And that's, to me, the metaphor. Because if you see her as a kid, she really was creating the world that she lived in, right? She wasn't allowed to go out because her heart was bad. And the backstory behind that is both beautiful and heartbreaking, right? Because her dad wouldn't touch her, and all she wanted was a hug from her dad. And the only time that she got any contact with him was when once a year, he would check her vitals, make sure she's healthy, and that would make her heart flutter. And because her heart was fluttering and her dad was checking her pulse, he thought she had some kind of a murmur, and he was like, oh, she's got a bad heart. And he created her world and the knock-on effects of that. And so she, in turn, had to sit by herself and create her world. That became her fantasy. Her inner life was her world. And in this world, she had a best friend that was a goldfish. In this world, she got to make vinyl records in the same way you made pancakes. And she probably listened to those records, right? Even though they're nonsense. And so she was creating her world. And therefore, when she got out of the world, she wanted to continue to create the world that she wanted to live in. Because the rest of the world wasn't really this beautiful thing. The world that she was in is one where flies get run over by cars and beautiful things happen that no one witnesses and friends pass. Like, that's a real world, but not the beautiful one that she was creating for herself. And so what does she do? Her answer to that is to go start creating her world. Fine. This guy is unhappy. She sees that she is just sick with everything under the sun. She's a hypochondriac. What can I do? Oh, what? And that's where the owner, right? She's like, oh, there's a recipe for true love. If you want to know what it is, you take two regulars, tell them they like each other, and let them stew. It never fails. And so what does she do? She goes and talks to Joseph. Georgette is over there just pining for you. What do you think is happening? She goes to Georgette and is like, Joseph isn't crazy or whatever, don't you see what he sees every day? Sit here. What do you think he sees? I don't know. Think about it. God, what do I got to do? And she just lets it bake for a while and then, spills some coffee and triggers all these feelings that she's been building up. And so she's literally going around trying to create the life that, she wants the world to be. And she's doing that over and over and over again. And she's trying to heal the world. And it's at a certain point frustrating because she realizes she's creating this world for everyone else and not for herself. And that's when what's really interesting is the glass man, right? Dufayel, who's been pent up. She's his mirror image. Except he didn't really get that much of a choice. He's born with, this Mr. Glass, debilitation where he's brittle and interacting with the world is dangerous to him. And so he's very choosy on who he lets into his world. And what does he do? He starts doing the thing to her that she's been doing to everyone else, right? And he's talking metaphorically to her through the painting. Who's this girl? What do you think? Oh, well, maybe she does like a boy, but maybe she's going to miss an opportunity, And she's like, oh, okay. And it's not clear how much she recognizes he's talking in code to her, and if she's understanding it. She knows she's talking in code to him, but she doesn't know. It's not clear if she understands he's talking back to her until towards the end, whenever, she's for the second or third time watching the TV and seeing these subtitles that have nothing to do with her. and she's superimposing the subtitles into her life. What does she say in response? Because Dufayel is like, I don't know, this girl, she's gonna miss out. Like, I think she's a coward. I think she's a coward. She's saying she's, dealing with all these stratagems, but I think these stratagems are just a way out. They're an excuse to not take a risk. And she goes home and she's like pouting. And what does she read? Dufayel's attempts, and it's so funny. It's like these Germans on TV and at war, and they're talking about her and Dufayel. And it's like, Dufayel's attempts to meddle are intolerable. If Amelie chooses to live in a dream and remain an introverted young woman, has an absolute right to mess up her life. And it's so funny because on the one hand, she's acknowledging like this meddling is intolerable, but she's also acknowledging that she has a right to mess up her life. And that's what she's acknowledging. Like, she is messing up her life by going against what Dufayel is trying to get her to do. And so even her conscience, the world that she's trying to create, is starting to buck against her. It's rebuking her and admitting that she does need to interact and take a risk. And she's struggling to do it. And it's just a really beautiful, way to get her out of her own head, or at least pull someone else into her head and share it with someone else, which is what happens. I don't know that she ever really talks to Nino. Instead, she has him stop talking. And that's when, the kissing starts. And they're happy. I don't remember ever seeing them actually exchange words. He talks to her, which the cinematography is beautiful. Because she's talking, she's hiding, right? She's hiding behind the glass. And every time he looks, she starts writing the menu down. And finally, he's like, this is you, right? And she's like, and she just won't talk. And I love it because that becomes her shield. And the cinematography continues to shoot through the glass. And she keeps writing on it and just trying to build it up. And that's her avoiding, the interaction. And so I think that's what this movie is calling out. It's about creating the world you want to live in. And I think the easy way to interpret it is the laziest, which is to say that Amelie needed to go after the thing that she wanted. That's a very lazy, easy way to view this movie. I think the hard thing to actually acknowledge is how she's going around making other people's lives better. I don't know that we do that enough as a society. I think there's a lot of lazy ways to go about, like, listen, donate, and champion other people. But I don't know that we're doing that a lot on a personal level, because there's that comment that Dufayel makes to her about interacting with the people around us and looking at your community and helping. And I don't know that we do enough of that. And that's been kind of my mission. And maybe I'll talk about this at the end of the episode, but that was kind of my takeaway, is she's actually literally going and expanding her universe. She's creating this world that doesn't exist until it does through her acts. Now, the other beautiful thing is she's not really taking credit for it. And maybe that's because of her introversion. But I think it's equally beautiful to not go around and saying, I did that. And this is about me. Instead, it really was just about helping people.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and then I think that it ends perfectly with everybody basically like getting, oh my gosh, sorry, screaming kids. I think it ends perfectly with everybody basically getting, like, it's happy ending for everybody. I mean, we even see the guy that she helps first. He's feeding his son. He's like, he made a chicken or something and he's feeding his son at the end. And he has, it's like he was a kid and he missed, hold on.
Yep, copy. Oh my God. I did not pick up that guy feeding his kid. Oh, it is.
Oh yeah.
I'm scrubbing through it. God, you're right. What a doofus am I? That's so beautiful.
Oh, you're not a doofus? No, it's like, it's small. It's like a small moment. And there's so many people in this film, like it's hard to like keep track of everybody. But like, he remembers his childhood, and I think he longs for his childhood, but then he like has accepted it, and it's actually a good thing. He's giving his son a beautiful childhood too, and we get to see that. And so he's accepted that he's a grown man maybe now. And then, and the failed writer, I thought that was really beautiful as he walks down and he sees in spray paint a quote, his own quote, and he looks around, he's like, what? And then he doesn't say anything, he just keeps walking, but then he skips over that chain. He has a little skip in his step now. Like that's just, it's flawless. We talk all the time. I'm going to say it every week, and I'm just going to keep saying it. Exposition is the death of art. Mm-hmm. Stop telling me everything. Show me. That is a perfect example of how not to say, oh my gosh, who wrote that? Like, no, just show him skip over a chain. It's freaking perfect. It's fantastic. And everybody basically gets what they want. And then I love the kind of fast movement at the end where she's on the bike with him, and then they both look at the camera together, like like we've all won, and everything is beautiful and happy. Not everything has to be not everything has to end poorly. Like it can end well. And it's a perfect ending to a movie like this.
And
so,
what
yeah,
I'm just, after scrubbing through and looking at that moment you were talking about with the man and his child, what I also realized is the painter, Dufayel, painted in her guy. Oh.
Yeah. Yep. It's perfect.
So good.
It's great. It's like, it's a good example of a writer, director understanding the motivations of all the characters and then providing, like setting up, loading the gun, providing the gun going off at the end for everybody, right? It's not just, and he doesn't forget anybody. It's not like we see this guy in the phone booth get his childhood memories back and then we never see him again. No, like he closes that loop. He closes all the loops, or maybe not. I don't know if all of them are closed, but like a lot of the important ones are that we maybe have forgotten about, like the writer. I think it's probably my favorite, honestly. Maybe just because I'm an artist too, and it's pretty amazing moment. So, but yeah, I thought it was great.
It's amazing because the way they put a button on that writer too, is when Joseph, I think it ties in directly with Joseph and Georgette, where Joseph just ruins it, right? He becomes jealous irrationally, and just starts making her nuts. Because that was what was in his heart. And I love that he tries to pull the writer into his world of misery, and the writer won't do it. And he's like, hey, pipe down, failure. And the writer's like, yeah, I failed at life. I failed at writing. And I love the word fail. Failure is human destiny. Failure teaches us that life is but a draft, a long rehearsal for a show that will never play. And he's like, you know what? That's what life is. It's about failing. It's about trying. And at the end of the day, this first draft is the only draft you'll ever have. So why not go fail? Why not go make the best of it? The only real failure is not even trying. The writer's getting to all of that in his quote, and then to end with his idea about without you, emotion would be a scurf, on the day or whatever it is, something along those lines. It's just this simple, elegant way of saying that human connections and human emotions are the reason for it all. And without it, it's all surface. It's all flaking and just erasing and meaningless. And it's so good. I will touch on some of the cinematography. Again, this is very simple and obvious, but as a method of study, I really just looking at it, every shot is planned and executed. And that takes a lot of work from everyone. Obviously on the directing side and working with your cinematographer and your production designer, everyone has to be able to contribute, and even your actor. Like, your actors need to be able to maintain these moments for like a few hours. I look at a scene like that market owner, waking up at 4 a.m. Because she nuked his alarm clock, and he gets up, he gets going, he's going to the bathroom, and he's like whiffing on the door handle before he looks at it, and we get that crazy wide angle shot of him looking at the knob like, what is happening right now? And then he opens it, he goes inside. Like, that little sequence probably didn't happen very quickly. That's a lot of like setting up dolly tracks and moving and relighting and then swapping lenses. At best, I would think 2 or 3 hours to get through that if you're like really hoofing it. But the actor has to connect all those moments seamlessly. He has to really stay in the zone of like, okay, I've just woken up. I'm confused. I just looked at my door, and okay, here's my moment. And I go through, like, or not. Maybe, he was just like sipping his latte and doing whatever. But if you're not on your game, it's an easy thing to kind of mess up and like not make look fluid. And that's also the director's job of making sure, like, no, hold on, let's go back, and you're forgetting, like, remember, you're doing this. But it's a lot of work for everyone, and because there's so many setups, and they're all dramatic, they're all communicating something. And my favorite thing watching this, the lighting was gorgeous, and not just the softness, but the color temperatures, and the shift and all that. Like, that took incredible attention to detail from everyone. Again, but I also really love the wide angle close-ups. Like, this is very Deakins-esque, not just the soft lighting, but Deakins loves a good, wide angle close-up. And this, watching him the way he was doing it, was so satisfying. One, you have, you get to look at Audrey Tautou in close, so that helps your case for sure. But they're also like always from a slightly high angle, or maybe a slightly dramatic angle. So it's not just eye level, but you're in close, wide angled, and you're kind of just looking down a little bit. And it just adds something. Like, it's fun, it's engaging, it's asking something of you. But throughout the entire movie, there's all these very tightly controlled movements on the camera work side. So the dolly moves, there's pushes and pulls and slides and these tilts and these booms up and boom downs, and like they're all very tight. Like that sequence whenever Georgette and Joseph, when she spills the coffee on Georgette and she's like pissed, and she goes into the shower, to the bathroom, and they start like hammering away in there, and everything starts shaking, and there's these gorgeous boom shots to reveal like the glasses are shaking, they're about to fall, and you're like, whoa. And it starts with the Trimble Jurassic Park style, and it just gets bigger. There's just incredible like camera movements there, and it's all tied in because Jeunet knows how this is all going to fit in the edit. And as chaotic as it looks, I would be surprised. Now, maybe I would assume they were cutting on digital and then rolling out an EDL for the print, because this came out in 2001, so the Avid would have been popular for sure by this time, and the level of the tightness of some of these edits, it had to have been a digital edit and then rolled out on an EDL edit decision list. It's basically just a bunch of timestamps on, we're taking this frame from this reel, and someone goes and finds that lane. Okay, I'll cut here and I'll cut here and I'll paste these together. And it's just intense. But then some of the visual effects, freaking outstanding. Like the shot with the photograph talking to each other was remarkable. Like, watching this in Blu-ray, I couldn't see a single freaking like flaw in that visual effect. It's just,
honestly, the first one, just to call that out, the first special effect that I noticed, well, I guess I'm sure there's
platypus,
others, but was her as a little girl when she's the doctor working on that create that thing that
was that a platypus? It looked
imaginary
like a platypus.
friend. Yeah, I guess. I don't know, but like I was like, that looks so real. And I thought, oh, that's a great setup for what the rest of the movie. I'm going to believe everything that I see now. It just looks so real. It's great.
Yeah, that one definitely melted my brain. I was like, whoa, how did they pull that one off? Because it is flawless. Like, I wouldn't change a frame of this movie, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, and so the cinematography is worth studying. Even just taking one sequence or one scene and counting all those setups. There's some of those shots in the diner are just mind-boggling, because it's so perfectly executed that as a viewer, you're always in the know. You always understand the geography of the space. But if you're watching that as a cinematographer, it could be like, whoa. What's our frame of reference? How is he doing this right now? Because it just kind of whips by, setting up him, Joseph sitting in the corner watching Georgette, and then creating a line, the 180 axis from this point, but also breaking it when we're introducing Gina cracking knuckles on the old man. And you're just like, wait, like, and it's so fluid, but you never feel lost. It's pretty gorgeous. And it's whipping, like you're just cutting through, I don't know, 20 different setups. That's how it felt. It might've been a dozen, but like, it was just incredible. Yeah, I don't know. I think my last little couple of things, there's a couple lines of dialogue that just killed me. One of them was the market owner, and he says, and it's one of the roughest insults I've ever heard, somebody peed in his mother. And I was just like, what the wow. Wow. Yeah. That's unreal. Like, especially in context of that opening with her showing her conception. So they're placing that kind of idea that's set up early on. But that was just a crazy burn. And then whenever she calls in to Nino, she's gonna finally, like, she's worked up the courage, she's on the phone, she's gonna tell him, I got your folder with all your photographs. And then a porn store like picks up, and she's like, are you calling about the ad? I'm calling about the ad. Are you 18? Yes. Are you shaved? What? She's like, are you shaved? Fur pie doesn't sell. And I was like, fur pie doesn't sell. Yeah. It's a crazy line of dialogue. And she just doesn't know it. She hangs up, as she should. But I was like, the lines that he comes up with in this movie are like brutal and hilarious. I think my only other little interesting, or I don't know, not maybe critique, I don't know. I don't blame Amélie for anything she does in the film. But the one thing that I was like, I don't know if I agree with that approach. I love that she's trying to help the landlady. And I don't know that I love that she writes a letter basically excusing the woman's cheating husband. Like, that dude ran off with another woman. I like that she killed him on the one hand. Like, she kills him off. Great. He's dead. Move on. But I don't know that I like that she created a soft spot in her heart for him. Like, that dude's a cheater. Instead, okay. Please.
I don't think she created the soft spot. The soft spot was never going anywhere. It had been years. She knows that he cheated on her and left, and she just can't. There's no amount of helping her. So she had to create something. That's
done. Okay, you know what? Scratch that. Thank you. Critique withdrawn.
Because I agree with you, like that loser should die, and whatever. She needs to get over him, but I just don't think that that she's ever going to. So
well done.
Give her what she needs, which is him. Yeah. She needs him. Yeah. To her own fault, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I got, man. Last words?
I think is beautiful and lovely. It's what films should be, even if you don't, it might be hard for someone to get through it because it is subtitled, and it goes really fast. That's the other thing. It goes really fast, but I mean, it's worth it. It's kind of like, watching a film like Parasite or something. It's worth it. Like, just go into it, like, ready to be, to taken on a ride. It's beautiful. Well done.
Nice.
Yeah.
What are you going to recommend this week?
This week I'm going to recommend a musician, an artist, named Jon Bellion. I don't know if you've ever listened to Jon Bellion before.
How do you spell that?
JONBELLION. I've been a fan of this guy for years, and I just never really talked about him. But he's like the definition for me. He's the definition of someone who, like, all he could do is music, and that he has a love of art, like in its rawest form, in a way that and he's an amazing musician, by the way. He's an incredible pianist, incredible beat maker. Like, the guy is like top notch, and he's written a lot of songs for other artists that you didn't know he wrote. He's just a master, and he's also a master at directing other musicians, right? And I'll send you a link, but there's a video of him specifically that it's like an hour long of him at Cove City in I think it's in New York, and it's during the pandemic, and he's got all his musicians around him, and they're performing live, and he's directing them live. Okay, do this now, play this beat double time, or whatever. He's like, he'll do these beats with his mouth, and then he'll have the drummer do it, and then he'll have the bass player. He's like, okay, play this, whatever, and then it's in the moment creativity. It's so beautiful. And one of his favorite songs, if not his favorite song, is one of my favorite songs, which is I'll Follow You Into the Dark by Death Cab for Cutie, which, if you haven't heard that song, go listen to that song. It's probably the best song ever written in my mind. I mean, there are other great songs, but that song is just, it's incredible. And that's his favorite song. And if you start going down the Jon Bellion rabbit hole, you'll go down it for weeks, because the guy is just and he's so infectious. He talks about all the time how, like, labels are the death of music, and how, you need to be your own label. And, if you can, and he'll say, he walks you through how labels kill artists and stuff, and just fantastic. Anyway, I'll stop. Dude. But yeah, Jon Bellion.
Jon Bellion. Well freaking done, man. I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to recommend, have I done this already? What is it? What the fuck? I need to write these down, because while I was watching it last night, I was like, oh, this will be the perfect recommendation, and then I completely freaking forgot. So instead of whatever that perfect reco was going to be, you'll have to accept a book on writing, because why not? It is, where did I write it? Leave it. Okay, it's How to Write Science Fiction and Fantasy. And it's by Orson Scott Card, and it's a introduction to, I think it's the mice quotient, and it'll give you an insight into how to write with a specific idea in mind around, typing this up. So mice, we talked about a few weeks ago, where the M stands for milieu, it's location heavy. The I stands for inquiry or idea, kind of like maybe a murder mystery would be an idea film. A milieu film would be like The Wizard of Oz, right? It's about getting in and out of Oz. An inquiry might be, murder mystery, or maybe like Inception, or Interstellar. Probably most of Nolan's films are probably inquiry films. And then C is a character film, like Rocky, right, is a good character film. And then the E is an event film, maybe something like the Poseidon Adventure that you mentioned recently, or whatever, something big, significant, where it's about getting in and out of that event, or it's triggering the rest of your story. And so yeah, that's a good introduction. And I don't know, it's useful. It's a useful way to think about storytelling and what kind of story you're trying to tell. It might fit very neatly within that. And once you know that, it helps understand what your triggering point is for your story, as well as what your resolution point is for the story, as well as what kind of obstacles your character should be experiencing along the way, right? If it's a Poseidon adventure, then it's all about trying to survive. That's the obstacles in their way. If it's a character story, it's all about trying to prevent the character from making the change that they may be trying to make. Or maybe what they're trying to do is stay the same. The world keeps trying to change them, and they're whatever, Marty McFly, and they're not going to change. They're determined. Or if it's an inquiry, then you're trying to figure it out. What are the clues to help you understand, and what do those clues lead to, etc. And so understanding if you're telling one of these kinds of stories will really help, your writing or maybe just your enjoyment of storytelling. Who knows? That book overall is okay, but that section in particular is wonderful. Anyway, spotlight this week is us, or I guess me and Dave, friend of the show, Dave Jasmine. It's the Good Ship Lollipop. If you've never seen this, it's my own version of the photo guy, the guy who's having these conversations with himself as he's talking to Nino Quincampoix, and it's me and Dave, and we're dressed up as oh my god, Shirley Temple, and if it's 60 seconds of us being silly. And this was art directed by also friend of the show, Alyssa Marie. This was, I think it was her idea, and we just ran with it. And so she gets anything that you like in that, she gets credit for. Anything you don't like, blame on me.
It's probably the best thing you've ever made. I like cannot watch that without losing my mind. Great spotlight.
Oh, it's so silly. Enjoy. And stay tuned for next week. We take a look at Emily Blunt and what's that guy's name? Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, as the Smashing Machine, another Safdie production. I think this is just one of them. I think it's, I don't know which, Josh Safdie, maybe. If you've seen Good Time, or what was the one they did with Adam Sandler? Good God. Uncut Gems. Then yeah, this is in that same vein. So the Smash Machine is in theaters now. See it today or not. If you're enjoying the show, don't forget, subscribe or not, and leave us a review. And don't forget, if there's something you want to comment about on this episode, you can do that at thepestlepodcast.com/Amelie.
And our quote of the day is from Mahatma Gandhi. Be the change that you wish to see in the world. Yeah, man. I thought you were going to recommend Office Zombies.
So that really came out of, because that's, I'll put that in the show notes in case y'all haven't seen me and Todd acting a fool dressed up as zombies with friends of the show, once again, Dave and Alyssa. And that's the button on the film, is be the change that you wish to see in the world. And that was really this quote from Gandhi, who did some amazing things and he's a three-dimensional human being, let's say. He's not flawless. He's not perfect. But that still, didn't stop this quote from really impacting my life. And this idea really impacting my life, because that was really about the time that I really started embracing more and more. And as time has gone on, I've tried to embrace it more and more. This idea of creating, and this is why I said, I don't know how much of this movie is me reading into it and creating the movie that I want in my own head. But that's the phrase that I really use in my head a lot, is create the world you want to live in. And I really do. And most times it's inconvenient because the world is really full of selfish, bitter people. And I don't say that to be a Debbie Downer here. I think we're all aware of it, but I also say that to acknowledge that, because I think too often I can also come across as a little bit of the antithesis of a Pollyanna, right? Like the sun's coming out tomorrow, or the sky's falling Chicken Little. Like I know the world has really rough shit in it, and it's full of bullshit. I am way too aware of that, but I also think the world is full of beautiful people, and you can be one of those beautiful people. And so just because the world treats you like trash doesn't mean you have to continue putting trash back into the world. That's the feedback loop you have to break. And I think about that whenever something stupid happens, when someone treats me really badly, and I have to make that decision of, do I give that back or do I not? I want to create a world that doesn't exist yet. And I think I can have a small part in being like this filter that, fine, I catch a lot of garbage, but what comes out is something drinkable, potable. And that's my part in this world. I don't know, kind of blabbering, but I really do believe, be that thing that you want. If you're not doing that, then you are part of the problem. If you only respond toxically, you're part of the problem. I'm not saying we're always going to get this right. We're always going to do the right thing at the right moment. But if you can catch yourself and just take a moment and say, is that the way I'm about to respond? Is that the world I want to create? If so, hey, have at it. But if you don't want, if you're tired of people treating you badly, you have to make a conscious effort and decision to not treat other people in kind. Is in those moments to say, I'm not going to be that person. And we'll all fall short at some point or another, but we can do our best. I don't know. I'm done. Sorry. Soapbox.
Like it. I like it. I got nothing to add to that. I think it's perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. I had a great time talking about this movie. Great film. Hopefully you enjoyed it too. Please, wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you're watching us or listening to us, subscribe, review, leave us a review. It all helps a lot. And if there's a film you'd like to see us talk about or pick apart or anything, let us know. Maybe one day we will cover it. Until then, I'm Todd.
I'm Wes.
Go watch some movies.